Here we
If you
go.
wouldn't mind, that'd be
Live.
They're hanging on my gear shifter in the car. They don't get out till 2:45.
Setting up your meeting for Facebook Live, redirecting to Facebook Live page. Okay, it looks like we're live inside the Facebook group. We're just going to check, as we always do, that our pretty faces are on screen. We are live now for today's edition of Webinar Wednesday here at Church Communications. One of the things that we love doing here is bringing you really the experts and the people that are really supporting your mission as church communicators and church leaders. This is one of my favorite parts because I think we're called to be a little bit of a matchmaker between all the tools and resources and best practices and experts out there in the fields, both inside the church and outside the church, and all of you that are watching into this broadcast, either with us live on Webinar Wednesday, or if you're catching this as a replay. If you are with us today, we just love for you to hop into the chat and let us know where you're actually dialing in from. We've got a bunch of people here joining in. And I want to take this time to welcome Amy from onlinegiving.org. Now, this is one of those companies where I think it's kind of like, it's almost like a secret weapon, ninja stalking everybody in the shadows, waiting to do its thing. Onlinegiving.org is one of those companies that not many people have first of mind, but really should understand what they offer if you're going to consider digital giving. So, Amy, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, Kenny. I'm glad to be here.
So, Amy, first of all, the first question, let's just talk about online giving, and let's just talk about your role there, because I think your role and your background is just very interesting. I want to give everyone a little bit of context of your approach to this conversation, and we're trying to give everyone a resource here today.
Awesome. Well, I am a former church administrator, kind of fell into this job the way that only God can make things happen through a comment that I meant to be encouraging to our vendor at the time, which was online giving. My background is in finance and operations and in connecting systems together and teams together. Worked very closely with our IT, web, database, basically things that make sense. I'm a process girl and kind of a nerd. My gift mix administration actually doesn't fall anywhere on it. I just really like details and I like things to be right. And so through all of that and really enjoying teaching and gathering people together and making things make sense, one of the transitions that we made over the time that I was at Bentree was, and I was there for about 15 years. And one of the many transitions that I got to work with and preside over was our transition to online giving. And we had done digital giving before, but it was nothing like it was with online giving. And online giving had built things as I would say, we really need this thing. I'd be like, okay, great, give us 2 weeks and we'll develop that. And I'd never had that response from a software company that I worked with before. And then when they built it, they gave it to everyone on the platform instead of just to me. And so that is still our customer-based feedback is still our development model, because if you are going to need it in your church, the chances are that other churches are going to need it. Unless it is something so specific to your church, normally our answer is yes.
Yeah.
And so I work with our churches. I'm the operations director here. I am over our implementation and training teams and on our merchant service side, because we kind of keep everything all in one circle. So if you have a problem with a deposit, or if you need to know how to set up a fund or anything, you go to one support email and it's done. And so we kind of try to keep that loop. And so that's part of my job, is to make sure that that loop stays continuous and quick.
That's awesome.
And that we serve well.
So let's dive into your company. So let's talk a little bit about online giving, and specifically like the use of mobile tech right now, because there is some trends in the marketplace that I think leaders cannot ignore and actually kind of need to like come to grips with. So I'd love for you to share your thoughts on that and give us just the context of onlinegiving.org in it.
Sure. So online giving is a digital giving, or it's a giving and digital engagement solution. So we really started as one thing and have kind of grown because our desire to have deep integrations with databases that actually matter, that continue to enhance the ministry of the church is really front and center. And one of those big pieces is mobile technology, because everyone is attached to their phone almost 24/7. It's like that digital umbilical cord. And the way that churches reach people has changed. It needs to be front and center when they pick up their phone. They need to have multiple ways to be able to interact with the church. We have done many things with texting back and forth chatbots to get things into databases, or mobile apps, or some of the things that we're going to touch on a little later about the way that people access your system and engage with it. And from day one, every part of our platform, even the back end administrative side, is mobile responsive to every device. And so that it doesn't feel clunky like it's 1997 and you're trying to do something on a website, because frankly, a lot of churches are behind tech-wise, and that's not super common in this group, but it is really important to meet people where they are and with tools that are going to be familiar and easy for them to engage and actually worship meaningfully with their church. So we try to provide as many vehicles as we can to connect to your other tools and make that happen.
Pretty cool. So one of the things that I was internally talking about mobile giving solutions with actually 2 churches this past month. And they were talking about limitations or things that they wanted to be built into the systems. And you referred to a little bit of the posture of the team there. What kind of tools would you say that onlinegiving.org has developed already or is considering based on that context that you're sharing with mobile technology, digital devices, et cetera?
Sure. Yeah. So we have quite a large breadth of infrastructure now. So it's not just giving on multiple devices and in multiple different ways, including during your Facebook live stream, having, giving on Facebook and different things that just can engage people right where they are, or text giving, or even, text registering for things. We also have chatbots that if you want to sign up for baptism, you just text a keyword that your church decides, answer a couple questions. It's already in the database. They're already signed up and it's ready to go. And so those are tools like that, and tools like our mobile applications, because we've really found that in mobile apps and things like that, there's really, you have a content app or you have a database app, and database apps tend to be really ugly, but have lots of functions. And then content apps tend to be really pretty and have very little function. And we basically marry those two together and integrate tools for your website and your database and all of your content, and put it in this beautifully you-like situation. Because everything we do is not branded with online giving all over it, which is part of the reason why people don't know that some of the things we built are ours, because we care about your church impacting your community and engaging others for the Lord and engaging others with each other. So during this type of time, having tools that you can have groups interact with each other on their apps, having very easy push notification to say, hey, here's our Zoom link for our Bible study. Having things like that are really key. Having good access to digital content, to live streaming content, to having it in a way that you can control and manipulate those things yourselves. If you have some big thing happen in your church, like half your church gets COVID and people need to know what's going on and how to help, you need to be able to get that information out there. Most of the time, people aren't going to go to your website to find that. If they have your church app on their phone and you push them a notification, they're a lot more likely to respond. So it's just really giving responsive ways for people to engage.
I think the chatbot stuff is definitely something that churches are starting to embrace. I've got Ryan in our live chat here saying that chatbots saved us during COVID. And I think that the ones that have embraced that type of service where you're using technology to scale personal relationships are really interesting. I like the fact that you're saying you're focused on the user experience for the person. Specifically, can you tell us a little bit more? You have this function that's called like a passwordless experience, which I think
Yes.
Like, because everyone's like logging in to give every single day, like to Facebook or to Twitter or to things like, and people tend to forget passwords, and that is, I'm sure, a huge friction point. So can you tell us a little bit about this approach and philosophy that you guys have?
Yeah, so we see that too. We see the way that people, how many times they reset passwords. We keep metrics on all that stuff. And so most of our integrations, depending on the database you have and how open the API is, you may be able to log in with your portal or whatever, your mychurch.com, whatever the thing is that's church facing. You could log in with those same credentials in online giving as you can with the church things that you've been doing, but still you run into that password problem. And because of the fact that we are in such a digital culture and there are so many things that you can do touch IDs for and things like that, people are really used to not having to remember that stuff anymore or having their browser remember it. And so we very early on decided every time we get a suggestion or we see an opportunity to grow in a way that is good for the church and good for the church members, good for the church staff and members, because it's really a two-sided. And anyone that's been in operations long enough definitely knows that, because it might be something that's good for the church, but it may be a real pain on the back end. We try to make that simple for both sides. And so one of the ways that we could do that is try to make it as easy to get in and give as possible, because one of our core tenets and one of our core beliefs is give the path of least resistance. What are you going to be able to do that is both secure, but is not going to create barriers?
So on an iOS device, you're using Touch ID?
Yes. So I think I may have skipped one. Nope, I sure didn't. Sorry, guys. That should have come up before. But yes, Touch ID is actually, it wasn't too long ago that all of the main browsers started allowing Touch ID encryption and stuff in the back end to be able to connect your device so that you could use your device's function for Touch ID to actually log in. And so we, as soon as that came out, we were like, hallelujah, there's another path of least resistance item that we can really write code for and make a big difference. And so we developed it and we deployed it within a week of all of, Safari and Chrome and all of those major browsers coming out with the security enhancements to where that could be possible. So as soon as that came out, we developed this tool. And because of the fact that of how we roll our updates out, we rolled it out to everyone at the same time. We didn't even tell anybody, we just did it, because why would you say, no, I want it to be harder for my people to log in? So things that just make sense, we just do the things that make sense.
So this is a little confusing. I just want to be clear. You're saying that you can use your Touch ID from my iPhone to open up the phone and get to the giving, or literally it's for the actual giving? You can provide a Touch ID login?
Yeah, so you don't need an app. You don't need, you can, it's for when you go to the page for your church for giving, there is, if you are on a device that has a Touch ID ability, some laptops have it, of course, tablets and smartphones have it. But if you're on that type of device, our system is smart and it is going to go and look, oh, are they on this type of device? Let's offer this as an option. So they can be on their phone and be giving with Touch ID this time, but then next time maybe they're at their grandma's house and they drop their phone in the creek because they love to fish out there, and they go in and they try to give on grandma's computer. Well, no problem. They can, they don't remember their password, they can get a code emailed to them because their phone has obviously been in the creek. Or if they got a little, old flip phone is kind of a loner, they could get a text with the code. So Touch ID most of the time is going to work for everyone, but in those random strange circumstances, you're still covered, because our password experience is what is going to make it the least resistant path to get in. How are we going to get you in easiest to get what you need to get taken care of? Because if giving is a hassle, people aren't going to want to do it.
Absolutely. You want to remove all that friction, because that literally translates to dollars not coming in with every percentage point, right? And so I think that's really cool. And I firmly understand that must speed up the donation process, right? Like that is,
yes.
You must have numbers on it, how that removes the friction.
We have numbers on how many people have adopted this tech, but our platform has always been, what is the quickest way to give? So what's the path of least resistance, and how quick can we get people in to give? We do, of course, offer other, giving pages that you can customize, that you can, make it a more involved experience because you're telling people the heart behind why they're giving. But when we're talking about tithing and just regular giving, you want to make it quick for people, which is why, when our text givers text to give, their phone number's on file, it's associated with their payment method on file, even if it's an ACH, and it just says, okay, Kenny wants to give, and he wants to give $10, and it just charges you, and it says, thanks for your gift, Kenny, and then you're done, because it needs to be simple. There are so many other ways that technology is applied throughout our culture that's really simple. So why not the church? Why would we shortchange that? So that's kind of a really big heart behind why our talented developers are here, because they want things to be easy for the church that's going to be in a way that's meaningful.
I love it. And Touch ID, obviously, not all phones have the literal thumbprint anymore. You're talking about biometrics in general, where Face ID is pretty much the same thing to unlock these things. I love the fact that you're saying that you figured out a way to use it with not an actual mobile app, but actually through a browser experience, still using Face ID, Touch ID to get people to authenticate, which it's got to be as secure as ever, right? Like it's
Yes.
secure than my password 123 or
yes, that you've used on 20,000 different websites because you can't remember passwords.
Yes,
I've never done that. I don't know what that's like.
So can you tell us a little bit about like some of the other tools available through this platform? Because it's really, I think it's interesting to see if you go to the site, and the site's at onlinegiving.org, right, Amy? It's onlinegiving.org. You can go and look at some of the different things that they have to offer. But if you could share with us a couple of things that I hear today, I think that would be interesting.
Absolutely. So we, of course, there's everything related to your giving. We also have custom forms and different ways that you can use tools on our website. If you're like, we serve churches from the biggest of the big to the smallest of the small. And so if you're a church that doesn't have a database and doesn't have the ability to collect prayer requests online, you can create a custom form and request those, or have people request through that. So we have your giving that's on your website, or if you still use kiosks, we even support that, or text, or even, you can create a link that's for so-and-so's mission trip for $100, and they can send that out to all their friends and family. So there's all the great giving tools that are there. And our processing side, since it's in-house, we also are able to give really great rates, because some of the rates that people pay for giving is absolutely obscene. So there's the giving aspect, and all of that still, again, not to sound like a broken record, with that path of least resistance in mind, and with the most secure ways to vault and store and keep data outside of our system so that nothing's vulnerable. So there are many, many things that we do for the giving alone, but then this digital engagement side kind of crept up on us, and we didn't really want to write apps. We weren't in the place that we wanted to be an app company, but we had one of our database partners come to us and say, church apps suck. You guys could do a really good job, and would you consider writing something that integrated with our database that still served the church's need for content? And so we did, and we continue to enhance that, and those things get used in beautiful and big ways. And we have things like event triggers, like when this thing happens, do this. We have conditional formatting for chatbots, like if someone answered this, then ask them this question and then funnel it this direction. We have lots of smart things that if you build in a smart way, people can then engage in their church. And so you can do, follow-up text marketing, like someone signs up to receive a daily devotional or things like that. There are many, many different channels inside with the digital giving and the text marketing and chatbots, and then our mobile applications, which it's a custom mobile application, and it is really tailored to look and feel like that church. It's not like, here's your squares and here's your template and you're done. But it's really exciting because we get to build things that really make a difference. for the way that people interact, and we get to continue to challenge a lot of the boundaries of thinking of, well, we're limited to this, and no, you're really not. You have multiple tools, and let's figure out how to use those in a way that's really going to work. So at the beginning of COVID, we had a lot of churches, of course, that didn't have digital giving that came our direction, but then we also had churches that were on our platform already that needed mobile apps, or that needed to learn how to use text marketing, or needed to learn how to use chatbots in ways that were really going to engage their people, because they had lost having which I still miss, meeting together on a regular basis.
Yep. That's great. One of the things that I think people who are considering a giving platform, they want to make sure that it's integrated with their actual church management system, their database. And so can we just go through a couple of them? Like, do you play nicely, say, with CCB?
Yes.
What about Breeze for the smaller
Yes.
church? The old style Fellowship One.
Yes. We actually originally integrated with Fellowship One. That was our first one.
Really? And then like the new kid on the street, the hot one everyone talks about is Planning Center.
We integrate with Planning Center.
Touch Point, one of my favorites. Aplos. What about Aplos?
Yes. We actually, working with the Aplos team was wonderful, and being an accounting nerd, we need lots of people their way.
Okay. Ministry Platform?
Yes.
And what about a ROC, like the open source ROC systems?
Yes.
Okay.
So the more open their API is, the better our integration can be.
Gotcha.
Because we're not as limited to the points that we can write to. So those are some of the things that, I'm certainly not knocking CCB or PCO or anybody else, because those are awesome systems. But like your Touch Point and your Ministry Platform and your ROC churches, we can do so much because their API is wide open.
Yeah.
And so the interesting thing about Ministry Platform churches is most Ministry Platform churches do use us because we've been with them for such a long time. So
that's awesome. Ryan in the live chat has said that he's used your chatbot services and they're awesome.
Yay! Thanks, Ryan. I'm glad they're awesome. We enjoy it. I get, if you have not been already able to tell, get very excited easily about good processes and good good tech that doesn't duplicate effort.
Yeah.
So if someone's going to be putting data in, may as well have it go right to the database. Makes sense to me. So
that's great. And so you guys should look at online giving for this chatbot stuff. Are there any other tools that you think that is worth highlighting today?
I mean, not really. So the one thing that you do need to know is that you can't get our chatbot by itself. You can't get an app by itself. It is a whole system because it is designed to work in tandem and have everything running smoothly. We are not a database. We're not going to become a database, but we want to work with your database. And so our tools are really designed to engage and serve your church and to kind of extend and really make your the things that you're doing for your people, both inside of your staff and inside of your church, make those things work very simply and well, and keep those people connected, and keep them at a place where they can worship through giving without it being a headache, and keep them at a place where they can engage digitally without it being so frustrating that they just throw the phone down or just don't do it. And whether that's on a mobile device or on a laptop or whatever.
That's cool. Yeah, and product training you're putting on the screen here, I think that one is also, I've heard from other people that have used you. And you in particular have called out Amy, like Amy's a superstar, Amy. It's like, and so I think that's one of the things that you are committed to, obviously, to helping people get up to speed with the product, right? Yes.
I am, a good friend of mine actually works over at Ministry Platform, and they call her the MP evangelist. And I would like to say that I'm probably the online giving evangelist, because I even, when we have partners that I know that, like there's something that we wrote recently that really helps churches that have preschools. And, lots of preschools, one of their biggest nightmares is recurring payments for tuition and blah, blah, blah. And this new thing, I called one of our churches immediately. I was like, oh, you have to go look at the release notes. This is going to help you so much, because it just really is delightful to share those tools. Because in ministry, the thing that people that haven't worked inside the church don't realize is that you are wearing 12 hats. Mm-hmm. And if you can make one of those hats shorter or combine it with 2 other hats so that you can move on to better things, that's awesome. We want to be the easiest piece of technology you use that does the most for you. And we don't want to have to charge the church a ton to do it either, because that's not serving the church. We need to be able to stay sustainable. So we can't do it for free, because we have to eat too. But at the same time, we are incredibly competitive, and our processing rates and our software rates are ridiculously low. But we do something that's completely different in the way that we support and train our people. We want to make sure that just because they have the tools doesn't mean they're going to know how to use them. And if we see an opportunity to train, we do. And if you are on our team of church partners, then we're going to offer ongoing training. So just like when when COVID hit and our churches said, hey, we need to learn how to use this chatbot, or hey, we need to do this, we would immediately engage with them and hop on that. So it's a real joy to do that, because it makes a big difference. And people take highway systems and skeletons for granted, and that operations team is really what the church runs on. You need your infrastructure to function, but it's really functioning best when no one really knows it's there.
Gotcha.
So
awesome. Well, Amy, thank you so much for dropping by today and really helping us understand all the things that you guys are making available to churches. I love the iteration and constant evolution and the customer-centric focus of what you guys actually offer. If there is someone here thinking about how do we increase, look, 2021 is going to be different, right? Like it's going to be different, but the same, right? Like, and so I think one of those things, a lot of people that I've talked to have an online giving solution, but they're not exactly, they know that they're not getting the full potential out of it. And so I think looking at a system that has continual upgrades, right? That you guys are not just looking at functional, but also design and then integration with the strategy. And obviously, like I was just rattling off all those church management systems. The fact that you guys are integrated already with every one of those shows just, I think, from a larger, broader perspective, that you are approaching this from a very wholesome, holistic approach. And I think that's one of those things that people would be interested to learn more. What's the best way for them to do that? Are there actual demos or webinars or appointments? Or yes. Tell us a little bit about how to get in touch with you, or is there someone else that they should actually reach out to? Because I think, again, this is probably a new name for many people. Let's just call it out, right? It's not like your name is on every billboard out there, but right. I think if anyone that has watched through to this point understands the robust nature of your functionality set. And so how would they what's the next step? Like, what's your invitation for them to actually learn more?
So we, so our website, onlinegiving.org, is a really good resource because it has a ton of information out there and we keep it updated. It also has a schedule a demo button on there, and you can schedule a 30-minute or a 1-hour demo. We don't leave videos out there because they become quickly outdated due to this little lovely thing right here, is that we are continually upgrading the system. Sometimes things get written and I don't find out about it for 2 weeks. And I'm like, wait, what? We wrote what? How did that happen? So because it is, someone will have a need and okay, great, let's write it. Which is like the example for the preschool billing information that I was telling you earlier. We wrote that and I said, when did we write that? That's amazing. I need to call somebody. So the information, we do update it on our website all the time. One of the key things that people don't think about when you're talking about having a separate giving system than your church database is that if you ever decide to change databases, then you have to move your giving. Having a giving system that's outside of your database then allows you the flexibility to always chase the tools that are best for your church. And then the other part of that is we only go down when Google goes down because we're on their servers. And so we have availability so that even when your church website's down, your giving is never down. And so that is, that's a really key component for people that they really should think about when they are looking at what's best for their church and pursuing different changes.
I actually never thought about that, right? The fact that you do want to change church management systems sometimes, and then it's a pain in the neck to get everyone to re-register their credit cards and all their records, and logins, and you're going to need to do that. But this is one of the most critical parts you want to have continuity on. In a way, it's okay to lose some registrations for events, but you want to keep their giving records intact.
Yes.
That's a great benefit. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, and we always encourage recurring giving. Even when you text, we'll say, hey, do you want?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of those things, I think, I think you got muted by accident. One of the things I was thinking on my side, Amy, is that people, I think, need to look at giving as more as just the offering time. And it needs to be thought of throughout all your entire church experience of holistic. I think the conversations that I've had with you even before this session lead me to the fact that, like, you need a partner, and I think you guys are ready, willing, and able to actually help people see the bigger picture on giving. If someone wants to get in touch with you directly, even like Ryan called you out today,
Thanks, Ryan.
How can people do that? What's the best way to get in touch with you personally?
Actually, we believe in centralizing email. So if you will just email support@onlinegiving.org, that way all of us can see it. And if I am on something else and it's urgent, our team can ping me. But you just email support@onlinegiving.org. We all see it and we all manage that central inbox. We do have our individual emails, but that's really probably the best and quickest way to get a hold of me. Awesome. So of course there's Amy@onlinegiving.org too, but we try to train everybody to go to support first, because it is, you get the wonderful opportunity to be answered by a group of people, to where if you send something in and Charles or Dan or Glenda or somebody else has a wonderful perspective to add, they'll just type it in the notes so that I see it when I go to answer. So it's wonderful to be able to share with a team like that and all work together in the same direction. So that's the best way to get a hold of us. Definitely check out our website. Even if you are not one of the softwares that we mentioned, we have exports to other softwares, because we want to serve the church as a whole. And if you don't see yours there, give us an email and let's talk about it.
Oh yeah, actually now I see on your website there's integration. There's actually a tab for integrations that has all the lists and exports, etc. So awesome. So if you're watching here today, hop online to onlinegiving.org. Support@onlinegiving.org is the email address, and there's the phone number here as well. Thank you, Amy, for joining us today. I hope that you have a chance to come back in the future and maybe share a little bit more tactically about some of the best practices that you're seeing churches do out there in the field.
Awesome. I would love to. That would be my pleasure.
Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up here for today's Webinar Wednesday. This is up to you. Who do you want in this chair, like Amy, just sharing their wisdom and giving you a peek inside different systems and resources? Let us know what you're interested in, because we want to make this the most practical resource and place for you for all the things that you're doing, communicating and engaging your audiences and your community. Thanks for watching today. My name is Kenny Jahng. Next week, Katie is going to be here with another session for the Webinar Wednesday. But till then, we'll check you out here in the Facebook group. Thanks, Amy. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.